right, this is my very first version of a TMNT thing from this series of comics. And is it gonna be enough to sway me into this line? Let's find out. So when we look at this thing, and I wanna acknowledge, yeah, okay. I got scratched by my cat in the middle of the night, okay? Just don't look at it so much, okay? I'm self-conscious about it, okay? Can we just get to the figure in the unboxing? Thank you. Jeez. All right, so when we look at this one, we can see that there's a different kind of art style here, right? With the dots, the dotty boys, and I feel like you're staring at my forehead again. Can you just, come on, guys. Just from this moment forward, we won't even talk about it anymore. Let me just think that my head is normal, okay? Thank you. So this is often referred to as duotone, if my memory serves me correctly, which, it never seems to. Halftone? Is that what it is? Halftone. Whatever. So you get all these dots and stuff, right? So look at that. Look at all these little dots. That is a very common style for comics and comic strips. So it's really cool to see that incorporated into the packaging. What would be wild though is if they could do that pattern on the figure. That would be really cool, just to see if it can be done and give that appearance to the real world. But obviously, today, you clicked on the thumbnail, you know, it's Man Ray. That is who we're going after today. And look at this little guy. That's probably what I'm most excited about. And that maybe a little bit, but that grumpy looking face. I don't know anything about this, but this is what you all wanted. So if it sucks, it's your fault. That's not true. That's not how this works. So we've got this comic book style thing going on up in here, and that actually reminds me of Adventure Time for some reason. I'm very interested in this one. I really don't know anything about this series of toys. I obviously have seen some of the other items that they've made, which are available back here. Like Slash looks pretty cool. This just came out. People are starting to see that in store. And then Jaguar that came out with Man Ray at the same time during this incredibly smooth, great experience from Target, NECA, and Haulathon. Everyone loves it, especially international people. If anybody loves Haulathon, it's the people overseas. But onto the box. So we got the top here, we've got the side, look at that, nice illustration, and on this side another illustration. And we did look at the back of the box a little bit. So we have figure shots looking cool, but they added that halftone or duotone, I don't remember, to the photo, so it simulates that look even on the figure. So I mean, that's cool. So if you're doing toy photography, do yourself and everybody a favor and put a pattern, get that layout. You know what I mean? Make it look like a comic book, y'all. So more to come. That already came. Ew. And then these are out and available now. So the bottom of the box, we have all the good information to people that are into this, like myself, the people involved to sculpt and fabricate, paint and prototypes and photography and all that, and the dang old thing, man, they all dang old did it. But I think this one's pretty interesting. I wonder if Ken Mitroni is famously somebody involved in the comic book version. I don't know. Or did he just get a chance to do this for the packaging? Cool, but another artist to look up and follow on the internet. Let's open it up. So the sleeve on this one, just continuation of that style, that pattern, that cool comic book coloring technique. So we got a couple layers of plastic going on here, and these are sandwiched in, so that's pretty easy to deal with. These all have that clear plastic tie, which I have come to despise. So let's take it out of the plastic and take a look at it. All right, so there we go. We've got Man Ray, and you know what? I usually give props to NECA for putting the names of the accessories in the box, which they did get some stuff wrong on the accessory pack. They left out Baxter head, and they screwed up the count on other things, but they didn't list any of this stuff, so I don't know what any of this stuff is. So here we go. Let's get into it. I'll look it up on the internet. Clickety clack, click, 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 clack, clack. Oh man, wow. Oh, I didn't know that was his story and that was the name of those characters. All right, here we go. So Man Ray, There we go, looking good. We've got all these accessories. So we've got somewhat open hands, one with a trigger finger. Then we have the fully open hands, and then these kind of like wide open gripping hands, plus the fists that come on him by default. We've got his tail over there that needs to get attached in the back. We have an extra head sculpt, a harpoon gun, a little turtle, and a little angry crawdad fishy boy. So let's look at the details. Starting with the hands here, pretty straightforward. These are just simple, somewhat mirrored versions, but technically the one on the right is set up for that trigger finger on the harpoon gun. And then we have these kind of open, gripping, commanding the waves as Man Ray does. He controls the ocean, we all know that. It's just a expected fact. Then we have these gripping hands, which he will use to choke hold everybody, including himself. Look at that. But he's into it. We're not here to kink shame. We've got the little baby turtle floating around. Of course I say baby, but he's full size. He could be like 100 years old or something. Look at him, look at that little face. Details looking nice. I mean, I like the style. It's simple, it's very cartoon-like, but it's not so much comic book-like. So he fits in really well, I would say, with like the cartoon line, just by what I'm seeing here. And then we got, of course, Captain Crawdad, Man Ray's famous sidekick, who uses the light beam on the top of his head to blind his opponents before he swallows them whole. And then of course his classic Crawdad. Some people say lobster, but I think the traditional story, his story arc is Crawdad with Fish Boy. And the alternate head sculpt, he's got this smirk. Look at him. Oh yeah, you know me. Mean Crawdaddy. Captain Crawdad and Man Ray. Then we got the harpoon gun, looking sweet. I love the outline stuff. I'm telling you, cartoon stuff just has to have this black outline and it just works really, really well. And we see that time and time and again. That's not a song. No song's a song until it's a song. Think about that. So his tail, which of course is technically just part of him, but more of those black lines for design, and I like it a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach this thing, and then we'll look at the details. This is not easy. All right, so the details of Man Ray. Zooming in there, you can see his tongue is painted, which is nice, you know, getting all those intricate details all the way through. I got this, go, don't chew on bags, you dumb cat. I tell you, man, cats love plastic. So I like this style, right? It's supposed to look like scales, but in a cartoon style where you wouldn't go through and just paint every single inch of them that way. But it's cool. He's heavy, heavier than I expected. He's not heavy. He's not like Zog or anything, but his back pieces here are definitely adding some serious weight to him, which I wonder what that's gonna do as far as making him a little too heavy on the back. But the style, the colors looking really good. Of course, it's all hand painted when it comes to the black outlines. And you can see that, it's pretty obvious, and they're all gonna look a little bit different from each other, which is nice. The back of them, textures, it's real smooth as far as this material. It's very soft and smooth, which is nice. These kind of look like big ears, not gonna lie. Details, I'm sure it's super accurate, obviously, from the cartoon, the comic strip rather. What is he from? A comic strip. Not even a strip, a full-on comic. But it's good. I mean, we've got some nice, you know, attention to detail on a lot of things, I'm imagining, because I only know from the box art.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
If you were lucky enough to get the accessory set from NECA and the Target fiasco, and if you weren't, just be patient. They said it's not exclusive to the Haulathon thing, it's just a timed release, so it's coming. But I followed through on my promise during this review that I would make custom screens for it and make it available to all of you, and I did. It is available. I'll link it down in the description of this. I also have a video behind all of it, so you can see all of that in detail. It's a free download, but you can make donations, and that would always be greatly appreciated because, you know, time's money, baby, and these kind of took a while to make. But I made a whole set. There's 19 images that you can download and cut and just have it printed at your local print place. These were done at a Walgreens here in the United States of America. Easy to do, you can just cut it out. But this is what they look like. So now I have 3 new releases. That is the video game collection, which just came out. Now I have these. So we have movies, TV shows, and Saturday morning cartoons. And there's so many freaking ideas that I can't even get them all into these prints. I'm gonna have to do whole new themes of stuff. But I wanna thank Mo from Moscato Bot Collects for helping me get a list of stuff into my brain hole so that I could put these into these designs for you. And look, they even have little cutouts built in. So when you cut these things, they're gonna be identical to what comes by default with the NECA stuff. And they fit in perfectly. They're gonna crop just as much as the NECA ones do. So I try to keep everything within the frame. Oh look, who doesn't want that? Classic. So get yours, the link's in the description. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have all of these up for you yet, but the game one is definitely up there. So it's just a little return on the investment of me making all of this content for you. I made more content for you. I don't think I understand the return on investment scenario. It's ultimately a thanks. So again, you can feel free to donate. It's not a requirement, it's free to download. Don't be like the one guy that paid only a penny for it. Come on. Don't pay at all if you're gonna do that. That's rude. Thank you all. I couldn't be doing the show without any of you, so thank you so much, and let's get back to the show. Let's look at articulation. That's what we do here on the show. All right, so articulation, we're gonna take it from the top. The head does go all the way around, but because of this neck, the back of his head there, it's gonna rub and hit and technically pop off. Which, man, it looks like that whole back piece could almost pop off. You can see all those details behind it. So they didn't skimp out and just paint that basic on the backside, which is nice. But the head, so technically you can get it all the way around, but you might have to just put it back on once you, yeah. I mean, who turns a head around that way anyway? But yeah, so no problems looking around. As far as looking up, yeah, pretty much not gonna happen because of that back of his head. And then looking down, so he's just got like a slight range there, and then kind of head tilt territory, not really much there either. It's got some wobble, so it's better than nothing. His arms, let's get those out into a T pose. That's fine. We've got some rotation there because of that shoulder joint. And then we've got this bicep swivel, or whatever, the twisties. And then the, man, just a super basic 90-degree elbow. That's a bummer. It's a ratchet too, which is very unusual. But it works, it's tight in the right way. And there's no swivel beyond the bicep there. You got the wrist, which will spin, and then we have that kind of traditional hinge on the wrist, which will allow us to get some movement, but what do we get here? There we go. So a nice 90 degrees in, and a little bit back because the cuff is kind of stopping it. But that's not too bad. It was very, very stiff, but you know, just be patient, and you might want to warm this guy up. He's got this cut here, obviously on his chest, so we can spin that around. We can do some ab crunches, maybe? No. Can't twist her. All he can do is spin at that part. Oh, paint chipping off. That's typical, I guess, really. So legs. Honestly, this thing feels more like a Super 7 item than anything. The legs are super easy to spread apart. They feel loose. Not Super 7 loose, but not NECA tight either. So this is kind of unusual. But we can rotate it there, and then double jointed knees, thank God, but they are super tight as well, and all this paint keeps chipping off these joints down here, which happens. If you paint your joints, it's gonna chip. He's honestly kind of a nightmare to articulate because of his fins on his back. But that's the articulation of the knee once you can actually get to them, because it's a very tight fit. But there's no rotation down the leg, and then the ankle, which has a pretty traditional articulation, works pretty well, and then it has that kind of typical ankle swivel thing, as they call it. No one calls it that, just you, Jonathan, because you're dumb. Anything beyond that? I mean, he's got obviously the fins, but they don't do anything. There's a piece of paper back there. It's weird. But yeah, so that doesn't come out, and the tail does have articulation, as we saw when we put it on. It's on this kind of ball joint essentially, and you can spin it and twist it and stuff. And because I totally didn't test it with Zog to see if Zog's tail was on a wire, which it is, so this one technically is as well. So you can actually bend that tail in the different ways, and I wish I knew that was Zog, because it would have made him even cooler and made poses even better, which he was still pretty good at. But that's pretty straightforward. Let's just change the head out. Pretty Pretty obvious how this is gonna work. But it's very interesting that his original base color is like an orange. It's weird, right? And that obviously just goes to show that they paint, they don't use colored plastic that often, if ever. Painting makes all the difference in the world, man. All right, so smirky face, looking pretty neat. It's not too bad. Let's take one of the hands out. It's just a standard peg. And let's put this one in. So pretty straightforward. Again, not a whole lot to talk about with this guy. His articulation is not great. These guys don't have any articulation. They're just his partners in crime. As we talked about, we have Captain Crawdad and then Old Man Turtle, which, you know, you're like, you let your guard down because you're like, man, you're like 100 years old. And he's like, yes, I am. And then he comes around and he kills you because he's just, that's what he does. It's his whole jam, man. Don't hate on him. These are just comic book facts. You can look it up. As far as putting the gun, the harpoon gun, it's, well, that's kind of not great, right? It's supposed to be a trigger finger. It seems to just kind of barely be a grip on the hand. It doesn't really feel like he's got a grip. It just looks like he's kind of holding it. It's weird. But the good news is he can get both hands on his harpoon gun and kind of stand there menacingly, but probably not going to be able to aim with two hands. It's going to just be one hand. That's it. That's all we get with him. So that's the articulation. Let's get into posing. So there we go with Man Ray, and I did want to point out, I noticed it like right out of the box, but I hate that these are white on the back of his feet. It like, okay, kind of goes with that, but not really, right? It should just be yellow. So yikes on that part. On to rating this guy. So when we talk about the details, I like the style. It's definitely cartoon enough, I think, right? It could fit in with your cartoon figures if that's what you want to do, but if you want to keep it separated, it is pretty accurate to the comic from the front of the box that I got to see. So I'll give him a 5 out of 5. I like it. It looks really nice. The accessories look good. They're pretty basic as far as what you get because you can't interact a whole lot. On to articulation. Articulation's not great. I mean, his head just kind of swivels, his chest just swivels, and then this causes a huge issue with his articulation. Just really gets in the way, and like you want to be able to bend it or something, but yeah, I don't know. What could you do? Like add some kind of bendy wires in there so that they could be like he's flapping or something? But it really just is a nuisance, to be honest. So with articulation, I'll give him a 3 out of 5 because physically he's got some stuff, but most of it is stopped by this, and it definitely could be better. Like he should have double jointed elbows. There's no reason he doesn't. He's thick enough that he could do that. And the chest articulation's awful. So that brings us to posing, and posing was just, it was fine. It was whatever. There's not a whole lot, again, that you can do. I mean, I like that this is flexible down here so that his legs don't get stopped by that. But beyond that, I mean, it's just, you really can't do anything with him. He's just a companion piece to the rest of your collection, in my opinion. So posing, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It's fine. And that's being generous, and maybe it should be a 2, but whatever. So those are the scores. That is the overall rating. I know a lot of you were really looking forward to this figure, at least maybe for the review or something. Is that an acceptable score on those metrics to you? Obviously the overall score doesn't really matter in the end, but it kind of gives you an idea of where he stands in each of those categories. So I don't even know if he needs an overall, if any of these need an overall score. It's really about the individuals, whatever, it doesn't matter. The real question is he worth $40? He's 40 bucks. Why? Because of all this extra plastic back here? I'm guessing? I don't think so. He should be the kind of $34, which is like their new price point. I don't even think anything is 32 anymore. 34 bucks, I guess, if you're trying to complete your collection. A lot of people really seem to like this guy, but it is not, you know, for my first experience in this comic version of Ninja Turtles. It is not something that I'm totally like, oh man, if the rest of them are like this, I'm sold. This is not a great first experience. I know there are limitations because of this, that there's no real workaround. He's just okay to me. It's fine. It's definitely not, like I said, it's not a piece that would convince me to just like go all in on the comic version or whatever. But you know, maybe that's, I just don't know enough about this character. He's like just totally new to me. But I don't know. There's some stuff that's new to me. Like I don't remember Rex 1, but I love the figure. It's awesome. So and the Triceraton Zog from the other comic version of the Ninja Turtles, I love that style. It's so like gritty and grungy looking. I don't know which ones have the better stories, written stories, but I think I like that style better. So that would be a line that I would prefer to go after if I was gonna go all in on stuff. But let me know in the comments. I mean, is this something that you have to get, and what is the reason behind getting it? I mean, we all collect for different reasons. Sometimes it's just a complete, sometimes I just love the figure enough that I get it. What is it? Let me know. I love hearing the story and the reasons why we collect, and there's no wrong answer. And I appreciate all of you so much for coming and coming along and just sticking around and enjoying me on these crazy toy adventures. But if you enjoyed this review, then guess what? There's another one right here. That one you can watch. And oh man, I remember it like 6 minutes in. So funny. Oh, we'll see you next time.